Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, fabulites. I got some questions for you. What opens with Miss Rebel at a poetry event and the hostess telling her, right, we're artists, we're writers, we're poets, and we bleed on the page. And what closes with, y'all, I got kind of confused toward the end, but she tracks somebody. Rebel shows up. Is the porn mustache guy, Bryant who? Von Bryant. And then who pulls up with him? Texas. Woo! Did you guess? It's Rebel. What is this, episode 5 or 6? My notes were bad because I was taking my notes from watching TV, not from watching it in review. So I took my notes as I watched it the first time on the big screen. So, but we'll get it straight on the, you'll know it's straight on the thing. Is my thing skipping? Ever since this update has happened, I've not been happy or satisfied. Okay. Process system isn't responding. Do you want to close it? Wait. Y'all, we just getting started and it's already, I don't know what I should do. Should I turn it off? How do you reboot a tablet? I don't understand. Okay. So again, we're at a poetry event. And at this poetry event, I guess the hostess gives Rebel her private investigator job for the episode. So we get that set up. Her nephew was shot by a store owner. Her nephew had a gun in the store, and she just wants to know what's up. She's like, was it about drugs? Was it about money? You know, was he in a gang? What happened? So that's that. Then the next time we're at a hospital, and I was confused at first. The supervisor, is that the same Asian woman that Rebel be dealing with? Was like, you know, give me more time, just 15 more minutes, she says to the black woman. And the black woman said, that's what you said 2 hours ago. And she's basically leaving. And I didn't know who she was or what was going on. But then the next scene, we see Rebel's dad, Renee, on a bike, and a woman in a red dress is coming up to him. And I think that that's who it was. Now, I don't know if she had that red dress in her bag and she went and changed, or if she lives in the town that they live in, but she's a traveling nurse and she is back. And we saw Renee's motorcycle, you know, early on, but this is the first time we've seen him riding it. So they're kind of hanging out. You can tell they have a long-standing relationship. I don't remember the actress's name who played, was it Jackie? But to me, she just really played the hell out of, you know, the mama, the older woman, but not too old, jazzy, but not too jazzy, fun, but not too fun, smart, very smart. I loved her characterization and how she handled the role, and when she smiled and when she didn't smile, and how sassy she was. What's her name? Because I've seen her before. She's not a new actress. But we find out that she has stopped drinking, and that's basically been the pattern of their relationship. They drank together. They drank and have a good time. She like, I don't have to drink to have a good time. I've been sober for 18 months. I don't know if she said it in this scene, but she does say it repeatedly throughout. And, you know, Renee is like, oh, I don't have to drink. I drink because I want to drink. Oh, I can stop drinking. But we already knew this. He has an issue with alcohol. So then the next time we see Rebel bringing a gift for Chi, and it's sorry I was disrespectful, and she apologizes for disrespecting Chi and for taking her for granted. And Chi says, well, I wasn't respecting your training. You're right. I can't just get out here and be a private investigator. You know, I got to get some training and stuff. And Rebel lets her know, well, I jacked up, I messed up, I should have had backup because, you know, I got drugged and somebody wrote on me. I should have had somebody with me to help me out. And she says she has not told her husband TJ, who we don't see during the whole episode, because she says that TJ would have scorched the earth to find the folks who graffitied on her. But she did tell Mac, and we know that, and Mac was basically cool with it. See, that's the difference. You know, you don't necessarily want somebody who's a hothead and crazy, but you also don't want somebody who's like, oh, people out here writing on you and drugging you. I'm cool with that. You know, it's kind of like, I don't want to say Mac ain't shit, but to me, a Mac type of guy ain't shit. You know, I don't want a hothead, but I take a TJ over a Mac any day. Somebody who's going to be passionate and upset about me being hurt and violated. I'm just saying. Okay, so Mac comes by, and I guess that she's kind of tuned, kind of keyed Mac into her private investigation case. And Mac's position is like, the boy did it for money. Why else would he do it? And they show the tape of the boy, the young man, the nephew of the poetry set woman, and we see that he dropped the gun and then charged the store owner. So he did pull out a gun, he was holding a gun, but then he dropped the gun. So that is suspicious. And it was like a suicide by a store owner. You know, we say suicide by cop, but suicide by store owner. He killed himself. He wasn't trying, you know, he set up a situation where he knew he was likely to get killed. So then we're at Mr. Kent's and Marshall Kent's place. Oh, okay. So Marshall Kent is the nephew. That's the young boy who got killed, who had the gun at the store owner. So we're at Marshall Kent and his father, Marshall Kent's place. And his dad says, you know, the boy, my son Marshall, who got killed, was a sinner. So, you know, whatever. And the little boy, he has Marshall has a younger brother, or had a younger brother. The younger brother is still alive, and the father kind of interacts with him in such a way that seems kind of like, you know, I don't know what it was, but it was like, you're a boy, don't cry like a little girl, or, you know, something like that. But meanwhile, Chi is on Marshall's computer, and they call him Mars. Chi is on Mars' computer, and she finds male porn. And so they definitely determine that it is suicide by store owner. They don't use that language. I use that language. It was something else I was going to say. And when Rebel got the private investigator job for this week, the woman said she needs to have access to everything, you know, to the nephew's stuff. So she's in the nephew's bedroom, and that's why they're going through his computer and stuff. Okay, so then we see Renee drinking orange juice. He like, my mimosa is missing some osa because it's just orange juice. It's no champagne in it. And that's when she tells us, his lady friend Jackie, that she's been sober for 18 months. And I'm kind of confused. I'm like, at that point, I didn't realize she was a traveling nurse. I'm like, how they gonna be in a relationship and he don't know she ain't been drinking for 18 months? But now I see she's traveling. A year and a half, that's a long time. So Rebel walks right into their mix, and you know they have a hot mix, and Rebel just comes on in, and Jackie, the nurse, I don't know, I think her name is Jackie, but Jackie's like, oh, hey Rebel, hey, and she reaches, your hair is cute, and she reaches for her hair, and Rebel is like, you know, reaching back like, don't touch my hair. So we can tell that Rebel is not really a fan of Miss Jackie. Rebel wants to help her father prepare for this deposition, and Renee is like, I already know what I'm gonna say to the judge. She like, it ain't even a judge, it's a bunch of lawyers, you know, like, let's prepare. And he like, oh, I don't need no preparation. He's blowing it off. And then Rebel is like asking Jackie, the traveling nurse, why weren't you around for the funeral? She pissed. She mad at the woman. You back here, you know, y'all got this habit of drinking. You want to come around for the good times and for the fun, but your good times ain't shit. They tearing my father down, and you were not here when my father needed you. So she's not a fan of Miss Ladybug. Okay. So we see Rebel with Jackson, and that's Marshall's friend. He calls him Mars, and he says that they've been tight since the second grade. And the guy with this friend Jackson has OD'd. Now they saw Jackson's picture with Mars on Mars's dresser. You know how you have a picture with a friend, so that's how they find him. I think this is the white guy. And you know, and he says that they broke up over Mars trying to basically pray the gay away. They had been cool since second grade, but then Mars got into this whole thing about, you know, trying to be ungay, and you know, they ain't really been dealing. But meanwhile, this little boy that's with the other little boy, and they're teenagers, they probably 17, 19, has OD'd. And it turns out, we'll find out later, that what he OD'd on is the same thing that Rebel had been drugged with when she got tattooed back off across her chest. Not tattooed, but you know, just, I guess, Sharpie marker. So then now we're at the church, and Rebel, they're singing, the choir is singing Eyes on the Sparrow, and Rebel is crying. I mean, I guess it just shows that she has emotions and she has feelings, and she's still mourning her brother. So Reb goes to talk to the pastor, and she is there too, and she goes to talk to somebody else, maybe his little friend. I missed his name. But the pastor basically has a program that's successful at saving folks from being gay. That's his assertion. You know, he runs a successful gay saving program. And then she is talking, and the pastor's name is Pastor Do-Rod. Don't we know a Pastor Do-Rod someplace else? Because I called him Pastor Do-Right on another show. Is this the same guy? I'm so confused. Okay, so Pastor Do-Right, she is talking to this other person about you know, about Mars, and they say that Pastor Do-Rod was trying to make him straight, but that Mars had stopped after they tied his hands and put ice on him while making him watch gay porn. And then she tries to flirt with the boy's father. She's talking to a young man, and the young man, his father comes over and is like, you know, what's going on here? And we're gonna come back to these two characters again. And she is like, oh, I'm just asking some questions. Can I ask you some questions? And he's like, well, who are you? What's up? And she's like, well, I'm a private investigator. And he's like, well, may I see your license? And she goes to look for it. And I'm like, oh, did she get her a private investigator license? Does Rebel have a private investigator license? And then she is like, oh, I can't find it, but could I ask you some questions anyway? And she twisting her hair, and he like, no. So she thinks that the dad is a closet queen because he wasn't receptive to her flirting. I guess she feels like she has strong gaydar, you know. Okay, so then we see the nurse is going to take the dad to the deposition. The dad gets upset when the nurse is trying to prepare him for the deposition. You know, she's asking him different questions, and he's answering in a, you know, she's trying to get him to use standard American English, and he's, you know, whatever, how he talking. And she's trying to, you know, he's answering, he's just being like kind of an asshole about it and not really taking it seriously. And then, you know, he gets real stressed out about some of the questions that he's asked, and he's going to get a drink. So it's like we can tell the stress. He's a drinker. He has a problem with alcohol, and he uses alcohol not only to handle his stress, but he uses alcohol to celebrate. He uses alcohol for everything. He having a good time, he want to drink. He having a bad time, he want to drink. Basically, he just want to drink. Okay. So we find out that the OD friend was drugged with triazolam, and that was the same drug that was used with Rebel. And then the next thing we see, Rebel is talking to a white lady in a minivan, and the white lady in the minivan is basically the drug dealer. She's a pharmaceutical sales rep, and she had some of her supplies stolen, but Rebel is kind of like suspicious, like, why is everybody using this drug that dentists use? It's not like a common street drug. What's up? What's going on? And basically through Rebel talking to her, questioning her, Rebel realizes that Mac, or his brother, was involved, because she had been questioned. The white lady in the minivan had been questioned by a cop with an Irish name, and she knows it's McIntyre, or, you know, whatever. So that's Jimmy or Mac from Rebel's estimation. Okay, so Renee did a good job at the deposition. We find the city's lawyer is offering $5 million to settle the case. They want him to take the money and be quiet. That's what the lawyer and the traveling nurse are recommending. And he's like, I ain't gonna be quiet. I want everybody to know what happened to my son and why. You can't give me no hush money. He's on the same thing he was on a couple episodes ago. Or that's what it seems like. And then we hear something about a gray van. And the gray van is also has something to do with Texas and the minivan. And it's a connection. And so I think Rebel wants Mac to pull the reports and pull the videos. Now Mac is kind of like not receptive to it, but Rebel is like, it's too much of a coincidence. This gray van is showing up with this drug that drugged me. This gray van is showing up with Texas. When my brother got killed, they mentioned a gray van. I think that's what they're talking about. We find out that Myers was being blackmailed, that he received a text that said, stop texting or I'll out you to your dad. Mac and Rebel are talking and trying to get Mac to get info on Jimmy. Okay, so I already told y'all about that. Okay, so then we see Renee drinking and the nurse not drinking. She is not with the drinking party any longer. Her sobriety is very solid, it appears. She don't even seem to be tempted. Okay, so then we have, there's a phone, this text that that Mars had gotten came from this phone, and it's a church phone, and we don't know what phone it is, and then they call the phone, and it's ringing on the desk right while they're interviewing the woman, and this phone, everybody uses this phone, this is an emergency hotline phone, so anybody could have it at any time, so we don't know who sent that text. And that's the woman, Mrs. Silver. Now, earlier we met when she was talking to the little boy who was Myers' friend. That was Silver Jr. And the man who came over and asked Chief for her private investigator license, that was Deacon Silver. So now we're talking to Mrs. Silver. So we got the whole Silver family in the mix. And her husband is a choir director, and her husband is gay. Because it was kind of like, she is like, he's so busy looking at them little boys in the choir, he can't look at me. Something like that. Woo! Okay, so we see Pastor Durod, and he says that he has cured the hubby. That's Mr. Silver. And Pastor Durod said that he was told about Deacon Silver backsliding with Mars. And then we see that Silver's son, little boy Silver, has his father, Deacon Silver, in the sanctuary of the church, and he is holding him at gunpoint. And he's saying, why don't you come out and be done with it already? Your lust, this lust between my father and my best friend was your obsession. Your obsession with Mars ruined my life and ruined my relationship. And, I'm just upset and I'm going to kill you. Now, his reaction, I had a difficult time kind of understanding where he was coming from. But it was very dramatic for him to have that gun to the man's head. And then the boy tries to shoot himself. I think that I really got confused then, because I'm like, this boy is 16, 17. He should be thinking about going on with his life. And like, how they get to that age where they're like, forget my parents. My parents are so dumb. They messed up. But I'm going to go on and live my life. It seemed like he would be at the age where he would be thinking about going on and living his life, not trying to make his father do something. He's old enough to know by now that his father is, gay and in the closet. I mean, so that's that scene. But the boy tries to shoot himself, and then Rebel shoots him to prevent him from shooting himself. And they're like, well, it's a good thing that Rebel still has a good shot. Jackie calls, I guess, Rebel, because Renee, Rebel's dad, was in a motorcycle accident. He was drunk driving. And Rebel is blaming the nurse. She's like, and she didn't know, I told y'all that the nurse was sober, and she didn't know that the dad, offered similar. Oh, she didn't know similar $5 million. And Rebel also, so Rebel didn't know that the nurse is sober. She's basically like, oh, you know, my father, you know, here you are coming around, you know, jacking my father up, and oh, so he was going to take the $5 million. You come around, now he's going to take the $5 million. Now that it's some money to be had, you coming back around. You couldn't come around for the funeral, but you come around for the money. I see you, trick. And Jackie is like, no, it ain't even like that. I'm sober. I don't drink. I ain't been drinking with your father. And, you know, he ain't even tell you that he was going to take the $5 million. Y'all, I didn't explain that good, but, you know, watch the episode. And then somebody tells Rebel, in terms of her relationship and her anger with the nurse Jackie, you know, you can't hold a grudge forever. And then they do a flashback of her as a young person. And I'm like, well, she been holding it for 20 years and counting. So I guess she gonna try to hold the grudge forever. And then the white captain comes into the room, and he's like, if you drop the wrongful death lawsuit, we'll drop the drunk driving charges. Because Rebel was all upset when she went to the hospital. Her father is handcuffed because he has had a couple of drunk driving incidents. And this is kind of like the third one. It's kind of like 3 strikes you out. He done hit 2 parked cars. I guess it's a blessing he didn't kill anybody, but you know, it's some serious trouble that he's in. So it's kind of weird. They want them to drop the whole suit, not just take the settlement, but drop the whole suit in order to drop the charges against him. So Marshall, the father is like, we're back to the father of Mars. And he says that Marshall was not depressed. And I don't believe he committed suicide. Because, you know, our theory is suicide by a store owner. And his parents, Mars' parents, are so pretty. Did y'all notice that? Marshall's parents, the mama and the daddy. And the dad says his actions told me, the dad's actions as a viewer told me that he was not here for the gay. But now he's saying that he would have loved him anyway. That kind of confused me too, because it was like I got a quick message that he wouldn't have been here for the little boy being gay. And then now all of a sudden he's like, all he had to do was tell me and I would have loved and accepted him. It didn't quite fit with the story or with the evidence. It didn't fit with the evidence. So Rebel's father is basically facing 3 years in prison with this DUI and the others from the hospital and the jail. And so Rebel, while he was in the hospital, she dropped the case. So her father is lit. He is upset. He is mad. And he wants justice for her brother. And he needs for his son's death. No, wait. He needs for his son's death to mean something, and he is pissed. He cannot look at her. And then Rebel is crying, and the nurse is holding her. That was very sweet, that whole scene. And again, the actress that played Nurse Jackie, she was I don't know. I've seen her and stuff, but I just really believed her in this role and loved her in this role. Is that weird? I loved her. Her and the daddy. I like their chemistry and their dynamics. And this Michael T, he's kind of new to me. I noticed him on Underground, and then I saw him in Fences, and now I'm seeing him in this. But apparently he's been around for a while, but to me, I never noticed him until Underground. Rebel, Malik's death is going to kill you. Is eating you alive. Oh, Mac is telling her, you know, Malik's death is going to kill you. It's eating you alive. He's like, you know, slow down and let some of it go. And Mac wants Rebel to forgive him. That's the first thing he feels that she needs to do. And Rebel is basically like, she don't really know how to just let it go and move on. So again, she has tracked somebody. This is part of the ongoing investigation, because we see that there's a connection between Texas and Von Bryant. And Von Bryant is the one with the mustache, the cop with the mustache that somebody called a porn mustache guy. So when I first heard the name, I'm like, who is that? And then when I saw him, I'm like, oh, it's the porn mustache guy. And when I saw Texas, as soon as I saw him, I'm like, is that Texas? And it was Texas. That's all I got. Be you. Be fabulous. Be fabulous you. Thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing. I'm Angela. The channel is Be Fabulous You, spelled out completely and squashed together, all one word. Today is the best day ever.